PS Audio is an American company specializing in the creation of hi-fi audio components, also known as high-end audio equipment for audiophiles. Over the company's 40-year history, products have consistently been designed for the high-end audio and power marketplace. The company is currently focusing on the production of audio amplifiers, power-related products, D2A converters, streaming audio, music management software, preamplifiers and cables. Corporate history. Founded in 1973, with first products shipping in 1974. PS Audio was started by audio designers Paul McGowan, the P, and Stan Warren, the S. Stan Warren left the company in the early 1980s to form Superphone, still recognized as having created some good-sounding but affordable audio equipment, and his place as audio designer and co-owner was taken over by Dr. Bob Odell, an audio designer himself, having created some of the notable Harman Kardon designs back when they made higher quality equipment. McGowan left the company in 1990 to join Arnie Nuttall of Infinity Systems in building high-end loudspeakers with Genesis Technologies. The company was purchased in 1990 by Steve Jeffrey and Randall Patton and operated independently until 1998. During this time period, the Ultra series of products, based on technology developed by the Ultra Analog Corporation, was introduced, including the UltraLink DAC, Stereophile Products of the Year, and Lambda Transport. During the 8 years Jeffrey and Patton operated PS Audio, they purchased the company Ultra Analog and Threshold Corporation. In early 1997, PS Audio Inc. ceased operations due to financial problems. Shortly thereafter, Paul McGowan bought back the name of PS Audio, and has been the CEO and principal designer for new products since. In December 1997, Paul left Genesis Technologies to devote full-time to PS Audio. In the first quarter of 2000, the new PS Audio International grew at such a rapid rate that Peter Rudy was added as president of the corporation. In 2002, former owner Steve Jeffrey was hired in the role of president, retiring from the company in 2009. James H. Labe assumed the role of general manager in 2009 and continues as of this writing. As of March 2012, PS Audio employs 31 people, nearly half of which are supporting its engineering team. Manufacturing takes place at PS Audio's Boulder, Colorado facility, and the company ships products worldwide. Historic products. Pre-1990. PS Audio's first product was a standalone phono preamplifier, sold direct to consumers for $59.95. The small unit had a passive RIAA curve sandwiched between two 709C op amps running in Class A mode and considered state-of-the-art at the time for solid-state. Later iterations of the phono preamplifier were introduced that moved away from the use of integrated IC op amps and moved to discrete high-voltage solid-state amplification modules, retaining the passive RIAA curve. Models include the 2 and the 3. To augment the company's standalone phono preamplifiers, standalone line-stage preamplifiers were introduced next, known as linear control centers or LCC. One of the innovative features of the LCC was a bypass switch that permitted the user to select the use of an internal amplification module straight into the potentiometer for volume control. Originally labeled 0 decibels, line stage in, or -20 decibels, passive only. This feature remained with all future PS Audio line stages and preamplifiers, later becoming labeled straight wire in or out. With the advent of the 3-phono stage, the form factor moved from no faceplate to a small 8.5 inches rack-style faceplate, enabling owners to combine the two chassis into one unit, thus forming the first PS audio preamplifier with phono input. This series marked the end of the first era of modular chassis approach to preamplification. Later preamplifier offering included the PSIV, the company's first 17 inches full chassis design, and featured an external power supply for the first time in the American high-end audio industry. The IV featured a built-in phono preamplifier with a novel switch on the bottom of the unit, enabling users to select moving coil or moving magnet cartridges, instead of adding in another circuit known as a head amp to increase the gain for moving coil cartridges. The IV took advantage of its passive RIAA curve design and simply increased the gain of the input amplification stage by an additional 30 decibels. All future preamplifiers pre-1997 had this unique circuit that reduced the circuitry in the path of the phono cartridge. During the same era, late 1970s, PS Audio introduced its first power amplifier, the Model 1, a solid-state design producing 70 watts per channel into 8 ohms and 140 watts per channel into 4 ohms. The design was a classic KB amplifier design featuring the company's first full 19 inches chassis design, large power supply, low feedback and minimalist design constraints. The Model 1 was later followed with the world's first audiophile integrated amplifier introduced by an American high-end company, the Elite. Based on the Model 1 architecture, the Elite integrated the linear control center into a Model 1 amplifier chassis. The Model 1 was replaced by the Model 2, moving back to a smaller modular chassis approach at 8.5 inches with faceplate. The Model 2 produced 40 watts per channel into 8 ohms, 70 watts per channel into 4 ohms, and had a bridging switch enabling the user to bridge the internal stereo amplifiers into one mono amplifier, producing 160 watts into 4 ohms. The Model 2 was followed by the IIC, featuring the same circuitry placed into a standard 19 inches rack mount chassis. The IIC introduced a new concept to the audiophile marketplace: use of a separate external power supply for an amplifier. Users could choose from two models of external power supply, one as standard and an upgrade to a larger high-current version. The concept of an external power supply was first introduced on the PS Audio IV preamplifier and later applied to power amplifiers like the IIC. The concept became known as the High Current Power Supply, or HCPS, and was popular because improvements to the sound quality were gained by moving to a larger power supply, both in the application of the preamplifier as well as power amplifiers. The Model IIC is factory rated at 55 watts into 8 ohms and 200 watts bridged mode, 400 watts into 4 ohms bridged. The IIC Plus is rated at 70 watts into 8 ohms. Amplifier successors to the IIC included the 250 delta monoblock and the 100 delta amplifier. In the early 1980s, and with the advent of the compact disc, PS was one of the first American high-end audio manufacturers to modify one of the few CD players of the day by replacing its internal audio amplification stage following the internal D2A player. The first and only modified CD player introduced by the company was the CD1, based on the Philips Magnavox line of CD players. The company engineers chose the Magnavox unit because the belief at the time was it sounded better to its only rival in the marketplace, the Sony. Inside the CD1, PS engineers added a discrete high-voltage line stage and power supply, replacing the NE 5532 op-amps used as the output amplification stage of the Magnavox. This unit was a stopgap product designed to get the company in the game of this new format that would someday challenge vinyl. The company's core products addressed in the background. PS engineers were working to figure out a way to utilize the CD player's digital output and create a standalone D2A converter. In late 1982, the company succeeded in releasing the first high-end standalone D2A converter known as the Digital Link. Other manufacturers such as Arcam and Theta were also on the same path, and both companies released competing D2A processors within several months of the Digital Link's introduction. From this point onwards, the company has produced a succession of DACs with the same goal in mind, that of supplanting the built-in DAC and line stage of CD players. Later advances in CD technology led the high-end audio industry to release a new category of product called a CD transport that contained no DAC and meant to use as a pair, which became known as a DAC and transport combination. Historic products. 1990 to 1997. From 1990 to 1997, co-founder McGowan left the company and joined Infinity Audio founder Arnie Nudell to form Genesis Loudspeakers. During the 7-year period between 1990 and 1997, the company was owned and operated by Steve Jeffrey, president and general manager, and Randy Patton, VP of sales, marketing and product development. Products during this era of the company took a somewhat different direction under the design guidance of Dr. Robert Odell and product development VP Randy Patton. Sumo preamplifiers built during this era included the 6.0 and 6.5 and were IC op-amp based, rather than discrete high-voltage designs of the past era. It was during this time period the company acquired a more modern look to the industrial design. The biggest contributions to the company product legacy was the line of digital audio products, engineered by the outside vendor Ultra Analog, located in the Bay Area. Ultra Analog, headed by Dick Powers, was an engineering-centric OEM producing some of the world's first 24-bit DAC modules. These modules were hybrids potted in epoxy and were built around multiple Burr Brown 16 and 18-bit DAC chips. The first products from this partnership were the PS Audio UltraLink DAC, Reference Link DAC, and A/D converter and Lambda Transport. The UltraLink garnered Stereophile magazine's Product of the Year. The Lambda Transport was built around a Marantz CD mechanism. The UltraLink, Reference Link and Lambda Transport were designed and built by Ultra Analog and marketed under the PS brand for nearly 5 years. PS Audio Inc. acquired Ultra Analog in 1994. In 1995, PS Audio also acquired Hales Loudspeakers and the Threshold Corporation. Following the two acquisitions, Randy Patton purchased all shares of PS Audio from Steve Jeffrey and owned 100% of the corporation. Steve Jeffrey went on to be appointed president of the Wadia Corporation, a competing high-end audio DAC manufacturer. Patton ran PS Audio and the Threshold Corporation until 1997, when the entity ceased operations and declared bankruptcy. Steve Jeffrey, the primary creditor of the corporation, liquidated the remaining assets of the company and sold the name PS Audio back to McGowan, who restarted operations in 1998. Modern products. Post-1997. With the return of co-founder McGowan to PS Audio, the company returned to its roots of high-end audio by producing an entirely new category of product, the AC regenerator. McGowan reasoned that in order to return the company to viability in a very crowded and competitive market, it was necessary to take a blue ocean strategy and provide a product that solved a major problem in all high-end systems: the AC power feeding them. Realizing that the then infantile power conditioning category consisted only of filters that cleaned power line noise and did not address the larger issues of voltage regulation and sine wave purity, A new type of product called a regenerator was created. The first regenerator prototype was large stereo power amplifier fed by a low distortion Hewlett-Packard sine wave oscillator. Each channel of the power amplifier produced 60 volts AC, and when a load was placed across the two out-of-phase channels of the amplifier, the required 120 volts AC was achieved to power products. The research and prototype phase of the regenerator included various listening tests at different frequencies, and 400 Hz was found to sound best. 50 Hz and 60 Hz is standard when equipment was powered by the amplifier. Further research negated the use of 400 Hz sine waves because many tube amplification systems were not filtered well enough at higher frequencies, and the 400 Hz tone could be heard through the system. 60 Hz was the final design choice, and the first product was launched. It was called a power plant, and the model was the P300, producing up to 300 watts of regenerated, regulated AC power. The P300 was designed to produce up to 300 watts of clean power to connected audio equipment. The P300 had a digital sine wave stored in memory, which it passed through a digital to analog converter and then amplified to 117 volts. Adjustable. At a frequency of 60 Hz. Adjustable. Thus, connected equipment was provided with a precise 117 volts, 60 Hz power signal. In the USA, other countries had units for their specific voltage and frequency, lacking noise from the utility company. The P300 provided, in theory, perfect noise-free power of the same specifications that the power company should be providing. Various additional waves, known as multi-wave, were also provided. The P300 is a historically important product in high-end audio as it helped redefine and popularize the power conditioner product category and spawned imitation. This even though companies such as Accuphase followed with their own concept of power regeneration, though not additional waves, i.e., multi-wave, which PS Audio claims provide additional benefits. More powerful models of the P300 were introduced, including the P600, P1000, P1200 and P1000. The P500 and P1000 provided up to 501,000 watts of clean power to connected equipment, but with the penalty of generating a tremendous amount of heat in the process. Because power plants utilized a traditional analog Class A/B stereo power amplifier, they were only 50% efficient. This meant that for every watt delivered to the load, an identical watt of heat was generated, thus requiring massive heat sinks to dissipate the heat. On August 21, 2007, U.S. Patent 7,259,705 was issued to PS Audio for the design rights to a new efficient tracking power regenerator that improved efficiency from 50% to 85% based on the same principles of regeneration. That same year, PS Audio introduced the Power Plant Premier, the first of its new AC regenerator products to utilize this tracking AC technology it patented in 2010. The current generation of AC regenerators was launched and carry the model Perfect Wave. There are three models of Perfect Wave power plants: the P3, P5 and P10 power plants. For high-end cables, PS Audio offered the Lab cable line, which was replaced by the Lab 2 line, which was replaced by the Extreme cable line. Currently the power cable line is the Perfect Wave power cable line. PS Audio offered the PCA2 preamplifier. This was discontinued and replaced with the GCP200 preamplifier. Each had an optional phono stage and external power supply option. For amplifiers, PS Audio offered the HCA2 digital amplifier. This was a switching amplifier. Many would call this a Class D amplifier. that provide about 150 watts per channel. A more conventional amplifier, the classic 250, provided 250 watts per channel. These amplifiers were discontinued and the follow-on amplifiers were all digital type amplifiers from the GCA line, which had flexibility in the number of channels or number of watts per channel desired. References: 1995 review of the 200C power amplifier from Stereophile magazine. 1999 review of the P300 from Secrets of Home Theatre and High Fidelity web magazine. 1999 review of the P300 in Stereophile magazine. 2000 review of the P300 and P600 from Secrets of Home Theatre and High Fidelity web magazine. 2002 review of the HCA2 power amplifier from Stereophile magazine. 2006 review of the GCC 100 integrated control amplifier from Stereophile magazine. 2007 review of the Power Plant Premier AC regenerator from 6 Moons. External links: PS Audio website.